I want to start off by thanking an earlier speaker, Attorney Jessica Slater, for pointing out the ongoing issue with pentobarbital. It's interesting in this meeting to hear Stephen Solomon say he and FDA care about proactively identifying issues, because this issue of pentobarbital is just one example where Mr. Solomon is on record saying he knows there's a massive issue that can lead to death with pentobarbital in the pet food supply. Mr. Solomon has stated he is aware that the issue stems from animals that have died other than slaughter being used as ingredients in pet food. We in the public are aware that animals that have died other than slaughter are illegal to be used in pet food under federal law, yet Mr. Solomon refuses to regulate that law proactively and instead says continuously that no, they're going to allow the FDA animals that have died other than by slaughter to continue to be used in pet foods. So he knows where the contaminant comes from and continues to allow for the ingredient that contaminates pet food. But the matter I wish to speak about today is that for years, the FDA has been regulating the raw pet food sector by what the FDA calls their opinion. The FDA has a compliance policy on the issue of raw pet food, Compliance Policy 690-800. Congress has confirmed to me that this compliance policy is neither law nor legally binding. And the FDA says it represents simply their current thinking. But in a 2019 media release, the FDA stated that a particular company had adulterated their product under federal law. This was a lie by the FDA. The company's product was not adulterated under federal law. It simply didn't comply with FDA's opinion. Federal law on the issue of raw pet food is clear. Specifically with salmonella, it states that a food is only adulterated if a non-added substance is quantified and then rendered injurious to health. Well, the FDA is not quantifying when it comes to this issue. And the FDA instead lazily relies on their opinion to try and regulate and bully companies and mislead the public in the process. The FDA has been asked on several occasions, including via citizen petitions, to perform actual public rulemaking on this issue. And please stop regulating by their opinion. And FDA CVM, specifically Stephen Solomon, has continuously refused to try and make their opinion an actual regulation. It's clear at this point that Stephen Solomon, Eric Nelson, Charlotte Conway, Tracy Forfa, and David Edwards at FDA all know that their cherry-picked claims and severe lack of science on this issue that's highlighted in their opinion cannot hold up in a federal court of law. That's why it's apparent that they don't want to have public rulemaking on this issue. They don't want their science to be challenged. If this is really about health, getting an actual regulation on this issue shouldn't come with a battle and the FDA continually refusing to pass an actual public regulation on the issue. I found it very interesting that a few years ago, members of FDA CVM publicly announced that they were investigating certain grain-free diets for a potential link to heart disease. How interesting how the zero-tolerance policy and this investigation of DCM, this is the FDA appearing to target the only two competing sectors to the major grain-based dog food companies that have dominated the pet food industry sector for decades. Both a zero-tolerance policy about raw, not a law, but a policy, and a DCM investigation, again, not a law, not a policy, allows for consistent and negative media to be produced about the competing sectors to the major grain-based foods. But what is FDA CVM accomplishing with both approaches? Well, I wish to note here, and it's already been pointed out by a previous presenter, that FDA has long been and continues to be involved with a private corporation, AVCO, where FDA participates in rulemaking in private, which is in violation of the Federal Administrative Procedures Act. Rulemaking of any kind by FDA should be entirely public, but FDA is again refusing to perform rulemaking for pet food ingredients in compliance with federal law. FDA is actually going to great lengths to keep as much private as possible. And this private AVCO scheme is where the potential corruption comes into play. AVCO, which is essentially public, state, and federal regulators, hired a private attorney, John Dillard, to represent them legally. And this is the same attorney for AFIA, the largest lobbying group for grain-based pet food. Yes, you're hearing that correct. State and federal regulators have the same private attorney for their private corporation AVCO as the regulated major lobbying group AFIA that cares about their grain-based pet foods. Another dot connected is that some of the FDA CVM employees, including Eric Nelson, hello, Mr. Nelson, used to be the president of this private scheme, AVCO, and he has long had questionably close relationships with AFIA. It makes sense to me now that FDA employees appear to be essentially acting on behalf of a major lobbying group, continuously putting competing companies in negative news light, greatly benefits the financial interest of grain-based lobbying groups. Mr. Solomon, if you care about transparency in the FDA, why is FDA performing rulemaking for animal feed ingredients in private? Why won't you pass a simple public regulation on the issue of raw pet food and stop regulating by your opinion? Mr. Solomon, respectfully, until you start promulgating regulations publicly and begin holding public regulatory meetings and stop your illegal actions at AVCO, you don't care about being transparent and you continue to be all talk with little to no action, and it's unacceptable. If you as a citizen agree with my argument made today, you're going to have to continue to submit citizen petitions on this issue and continue to voice your opinion on this overall issue until actual change is made. Thank you.